Do you ever wish you had a do-over? Because people ask me when I'm on podcast all the time, like usually the last question they ask, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? Well, I'm going to pick up today where I left off on Monday, talking about 20 wealth secrets that can make you rich in your 20s. I'm 63 years old. There are things that I do now that make boatloads of money that I knew how to do when I was in my 20s. I just didn't know they made boatloads of money, so I didn't do them. And so in this video, we're going to pick up where we left off on Monday, where we were talking about the 4 levels of value, and we talked about imagination and how you can learn to use your mind to make millions of dollars. Today, we're going to talk about the second highest level of value, which is communication. I don't think I can emphasize the value of communication too much, because communication is everything. In fact, imagination is the highest level of value. In communication is the second level, but you can speak without thinking. Man, have you ever said to yourself, man, why did I say that? Man, I need to think before I speak. You can speak without thinking, but you can't think without using words. And so communication is even essential to imagination. I'm going to say this, the quality of your life will drastically improve when the quality of your communication improves, period. Get better at communicating. I'm just not good at talking. Well, get better at it. I just don't like to talk. Well, start liking it. Because the reality is, your words can make a way for you, or they can block the way from you. And you have to pick, which one is it going to be? So, as we're looking at the communication level of value, the 4 levels of value, we're looking at communication today. The first thing that we need to understand about communication is the fact that articulation. So, in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this guy, and he's going to be side profile. That turned out well. He's a very, you blockhead? Okay. 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 And then he's speaking. This guy's speaking to these people, and he's got all these animated hand motions, blah, blah, blah. He's speaking to these people, and guess what? Articulation attracts audiences. The better you can speak, the more people you can attract to your audience. Yeah, you can attract all these happy people to your audience when you're speaking to them. If you have something good to say, and you say it well, and you say it often, people are going to start listening to you because you have something good to say. Communication is so important and so valuable that the scripture says that communication is the foundation of everything. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the same was in the beginning with God. And all things were made by Him. Him who? Him, the Word. And without Him was not anything made that was made. The scripture says, by faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God. Did you realize that language is something that only spiritual beings have? Language is spiritual because language is something that only spiritual beings have. God has language. God is a spirit. Man has language. Man is a spiritual being with a soul and a body. Angels have communication. They're spiritual beings. Demons can communicate. They're spiritual beings. Animals don't have communication. You say, yeah, they can warn each other. I'm talking about the ability to communicate to the most minute detail a concept, an idea, a value, just using words. It's something that only we as human beings have. And so the better you get at articulating yourself, at like speaking the words, the more you're going to attract an audience. So how do I attract an audience through my articulation? By talking to them about things they want to hear about instead of just talking to them about things I want to talk about. One of the reasons you're here watching me right now on YouTube is because I'm talking about something you'd like to know. 20 wealth secrets. So we talked about 5 wealth secrets in the imagination arena. Today we're talking about 5 secrets in the communication arena. The next video that we'll do on Monday will be 5 secrets in the unification arena. And then, that won't be Monday. Just thought of that. So yeah, we'll release it on Monday. We'll release it on Monday. Okay, 5 secrets in the unification arena, and then one day next week we'll do 5 more secrets in the implementation arena. So, but these are all wealth secrets that when you apply them, like here's one of the reasons it's hard to make money is because you don't have anybody like who wants to buy stuff from you. The reason you don't have anybody who wants to buy stuff from you is because people don't know you exist. One of the most freeing awarenesses that I've ever stumbled upon is the fact that there are already right now thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people in the world who'd love to buy what I'd love to sell if they only knew I existed. And so when I discovered that, I stopped looking for people to sell stuff to, and I started making myself more findable for people who were looking to buy what I already wanted to sell. And it made my life easier. Why? Because now all I have to do is show up and produce stuff and put out what I call my community service content to the world. People find it, and then they say, oh, I like the way this guy talks. I want to hear something else he said. 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 And then all of a sudden, Dunbar's numbers kick in. You say, Dunbar's numbers, what's that? Well, Daniel Priestley talks about Robin Dunbar, did a study. He said he found out that the 7-11 principle, and people have to consume 7 hours of your content and have 11 interactions with you before they feel comfortable buying something from you. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't have the ability to, like, do you know how, if I had to go, like you're watching me right now, if I had to sit down and have a conversation with you for 7 hours and then interact with you 11 times before you bought something from me, we'd both be exhausted. But instead, I put content on YouTube, and when I put content on YouTube, I get something like, I'm gonna look at it here so I can know that I'm not making stuff up, because anybody can make stuff up. So, YouTube, there it is. So in the last 30 days, people spent 269,800 hours watching me in the last 28 days. Hey, you know what's, so we're talking about 7 hours. Yesterday, today's the 7th, yeah? Yeah, today's the 7th. Yesterday, people spent 10,505 hours watching me yesterday. Well, that's a whole lot of 7 hours is. 7 hours is. Okay. So you have to talk about things that people care about, which means a large part of your articulation has to come from the empathy that you have for people who have a big problem that you've obsessed over solving. And see, one of the reasons you find it so hard to create wealth is because the only person's problems you obsess over are your own. Like, I find making money to be almost effortless from the standpoint that the effort is not in the making of the money, the effort is in the obsessing over the problem and figuring out a solution. And then you just show up and say, hey, guess what I found? I found a solution. And people say, oh my goodness, I've been looking for that solution. Can I pay you for it? And I say, okay, if you insist. Are y'all tracking? And so articulation attracts audiences. And so here's why you don't have an audience. Because either you don't have the ability to articulate or you don't have the willingness to. If you don't have the ability to articulate, maybe it's because you don't have a large enough inventory of words. Everything can't be that thing. You have to learn some words for the things that are the things that matter. And you need to know what the words are. So you increase your vocabulary by reading books. And when you come across a word that you don't know the meaning of, you look it up. Now, when I was a kid, you used to have to get out a big old thick dictionary. You had to understand alphabetical order. You had to look for the word in alphabetical order. Now all you have to do is type it into Google or ChatGPT. What does this word mean? And you still don't look it up? I love finding new words just so I can use them. Even though I know how to say what I mean and not use big words, I still sometimes like to promulgate my esoteric cogitations and articulate my superficial sentimentalities with amicable and philosophical and psychological observations to beware of platitudinous ponderosities and to let my extemporaneous verbal evaporations demonstrate a clarified conciseness with no compact garrulity or jejune bafflement. But I'd rather just say what I mean and not use big words. You say, Myron, what's your point? We have to learn the meaning of words. Words are your wealth tools. And if you don't have enough words in your vocabulary, then you have to resort to lazy language. And Jim Rohn said, never be lazy with language. You have to resort to lazy language, like calling that thing instead of using the word. Or worse yet, using euphemisms and profanity because you have a small vocabulary and you're lazy with language. So articulation attracts audiences because masterful messages move the masses. And I'm talking about they can move multitudes. When I think about the fact that we have video, okay, I'm going to tell you all a little secret. There was a time in my business, in the early part of my career in the early 2000s, or early and late 2000s, where I was making $100,000 a month, doing little small seminars, one weekend a month in different cities around the country, making $100,000 a month. With 15, 20, 30, 50 people showing up once a month. Okay, now why am I telling you that? Because when we have a YouTube video, we being me or you, okay, post a YouTube video and it gets 100 views, you think that's not a lot of people. But if you did an event and 100 people showed up, you'd think that was a lot of people. You do a video on YouTube and 300 people watch it, my videos just aren't working. But you did a live event and 300 people showed up, you're like, oh my goodness, we got 300 people. It's like we are so spoiled with the leverage that we have through technology that we don't learn to use it, we don't get good at using it, so it doesn't ever work for us like it works for the people we look up to. And then we think the technology is the problem. But we never did the work. And so masterful messages, create masterful messages. How do you create a masterful message? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of things. I was sharing this with people on my challenge this week. How do you share, what's a masterful message? Masterful message means this. When you are, if you're going to write a book or an outline of any kind, even for a YouTube video, make sure that the title is a clear word picture. What does that mean? So when you're telling people what you're going to talk to them about, they automatically, immediately know what you're okay, this is what this is about. So they can make a decision, this is something I'd like to hear about, or this is something I wouldn't like to hear about, and either way, it's okay. Any decision is a good decision. Indecision is the only bad decision. Are y'all tracking? Tell me yes or tell me no, but tell me now, I got to go. So clear word picture. Subtitle, powerful promise. That you tell them what they're going to get as a result of applying this clear word picture. For instance, my book, From the Trash Man to the Cash Man. That's a clear word picture. It's not clever. It's not a clever title. It's not a catchy title. It is a clear word picture. Oh, this has to do with somebody who used to be a trash man, but they figured out how to make money. Why did I title my book From the Trash Man to the Cash Man? Because people believe they're smarter than the trash man. That's why the subtitle is How Anyone Can Get Rich Starting From Anywhere, so that when you read the title and the subtitle, you say, well, if a trash man got rich, I know I'm about to do good. Right? So that's a concept that maybe you've never thought about, but it would be worth thinking about. Okay, then you do an outline. Don't make your outlines overly simplified. Make your concepts overly simplified by making your points in your outline well thought through. How do you do that? Make every point in every outline a complete thought instead of just a word. If you make an outline, just one word outlines, what happens is now people have to use their mental energy to figure out what you mean instead of using their mental energy to process what you are saying. For instance, my first point today was not, I could have made my first point, today, articulation. I could have just said articulation, right? Now what? Now you got to figure out what to do with that word. But instead I said articulation attracts audiences. It's a complete thought. So now you know what we're talking about. You don't have to use any of your mental bandwidth to figure out what I mean. You can use your mental bandwidth to figure out how to do what I mean. Are you tracking? Okay. So use, like when you're creating an outline, you can use lists. I'm giving you a list right now. I gave you my big macro list, which is what? The 4 levels of value, right? What are the 4 levels of value? The highest level of value is imagination. The second is communication. The next one under that is unification. The next one under that is implementation, right? Those are the 4 levels. That's the macro. But under imagination, we gave you 5 points. What are those 5 points? Because there's 5 points under each one of those 4 levels. 5 points. What are they? The greater awareness creates greater abundance. Boom. That's a complete thought. That's what we talked about on the video from Monday, right? Better beliefs build better businesses. That's a complete thought. Competence creates confidence. I didn't just say confidence. I didn't just say competence. Don't make your audience work to figure out what you mean. If you do, you're wasting attention energy. Decisions determine destinies. Expectation exceeds experience. Knowing that you can, in other words, is more important than knowing how you can. What am I doing? I'm simplifying through complete thoughts. I did so much work in preparing to keep you from having to make your brain sweat to understand what I mean. So I don't have to say, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? If you have to say that all the time, they don't know what you mean. Okay, so articulation attracts audiences. Masterful messages. How do I create a masterful message? I create a masterful message by having the video title be a clear word picture, having the subtitle be a powerful promise, having each point in my outline be a complete thought. That's a masterful message. I could use there's so many different ways. I could use ATFs. What's an ATF? Alliterated tricolon formula. What does that mean? I make all of the points in my outline begin with the same letter or prefix or end with the same suffix. That's one way to do it. I could use alphabetical order, which is the one I'm using right now. Shh, don't tell anybody. Right? Why am I using alphabetical order? Because it's something people already understand. They don't have to use any mental bandwidth. They don't have to use any mental energy to follow me because they already understand alphabetical order. Right? You can use lists. Just list, okay? The top 10 things. We're using a list right now. What is it? 20 wealth secrets that can make you rich in your 20s. See, what I'm doing, I'm not just like I'm doing the thing that I'm talking about, but I'm showing you how I'm doing it, like so you understand that the messages that we create and the attention that we garner from the messages we create is not an accident. There's so much hyper intention that goes into creating the content that by the time you deliver it, people are like, oh my goodness, I never heard anything like that. It's probably not that you've never heard these concepts or anything closely related to these concepts before. You've just never you've just never seen them taught in a way that requires so little energy to comprehend it that you can use all of your energy to figure out how to implement it. So hopefully that makes sense. So articulation attracts audiences. What does that mean? Masterful messages amass multitudes. So that's the first point in these 5 secrets under communication. What's the second one? Bold broadcasts build beliefs. Bold broadcasts build beliefs. What does that mean? Well, because the foundation of beliefs, the foundation of boldness is belief. When a person feels certain, like if I were going to get in a fight when I was in elementary school, if I were going to get in a fight and I knew my brother was there, man, you don't even know. My brother Jeff, my older brother's here. I don't think about you, bro. Because if I ain't got you, he got you. Right? And so like there's something about having a sense of certainty that gives you boldness. Well, bold broadcasts build beliefs. And see, when you are in the marketplace and you are making offers and you're seeking to sell something to people, when people don't buy and they can buy, when people who can buy don't buy, it's either because they don't believe or they don't understand. And usually it's because they don't believe. Now, there are multiple things for them not to believe. Maybe they don't believe you. Maybe they don't believe you because they know you. And maybe you've told them you're going to do stuff before and didn't do it. And so now you are always suspect, even when they don't tell you you're suspect. They're thinking, oh, no, this person's suspect. Or maybe they don't believe you because you haven't demonstrated it yet. Or maybe they believe you, but they don't believe in your methodology. They believe you. They even believe in you. They just don't believe the thing that you do, that you're telling them will work. They don't believe it'll work. Maybe they don't believe it'll work because they attempted something similar with somebody else, and so now they've got a negative experience. And so they're remembering the negative experience, and they're remembering the feelings that they had when they first saw the last thing that didn't work. They're having those same feelings now, and they're getting excited about it. But wait a minute, the last one I should have put on the brakes, so I'm going to put on the brakes on this one. So maybe they don't believe in your methodology. But most of the people who don't believe, the thing they don't believe in is themselves, which is why, as a coach, the most important thing you can do as a coach, the most important thing you can do in a coach is believe in the ability of the people you coach to win. Because here's what coaching really is. It's about the coach making bold broadcasts to the people they're coaching to let the people they're coaching borrow the coach's belief in the one being coached until the one being coached can build their own belief. My belief in you, if I'm coaching you, is going to be the cornerstone building block of the belief you are going to build in yourself. And by the way, there's a very different way. Some people say, like some people comment on my YouTube videos, why does he yell all the time? First of all, I ain't yelling, I'm hollering. No, just kidding. I couldn't resist. I think I'm funny even though I know I'm not. Okay, so, but because the reason I emphasize with tonality and volume is because I know this works and I believe it so much that I don't want to just say it. My desire is to install this belief in you, get this. That's why, because I believe it. And you may not believe it. But you won't disagree that I believe it, right? You may disagree. You may leave and say, man, I disagree with him, but you ain't gonna leave. I wonder what he meant by that. No, that ain't gonna be your question. And so bold broadcasts build beliefs. It's hard to make a bold broadcast if you don't believe. But if you do believe, making a bold broadcast is easy even if nobody else around you believes. I think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they didn't bow down to the idol that Nebuchadnezzar made. And so the king said, I really like you guys. Y'all have done really good work. I'm gonna give y'all another chance. I'm gonna play the music again. This time, when we do the encore, don't let grass grow under your feet. Get to bowing. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, we are not careful to answer you in this matter. In other words, we don't have any anxiety. We don't have any fear about answering you in this matter, O king. Our God whom we serve is able to deliver us, and he will. But if he doesn't, we still ain't bowing. That's boldness. Why? Because they believed. They believed so much in God's ability to save them from extinction through fire that they declared boldly, we ain't doing this. And they changed the belief of not just all the other people, but they changed the belief of the king. That's what boldness does. And so you have to believe something boldly before you can broadcast it boldly so other people can believe it. I think, sometimes I'm a likable person. Hopefully more times than not, but I'm not always a likable person. Nobody is, and if somebody tells you they are, they're lying. Okay, so, but I'm a likable person sometimes, hopefully more of the times than not. But even though I am a likable person, everybody doesn't like me. I have to be okay with that. I have to stop needing you to like me and needing you to need me in order for me to feel enough belief for me to be bold. And you have to do the same thing. You have to be who God created you to be and then who he called you to be and who he's consecrated you to be. Be that person and be that person all the time. So, bold broadcasts build beliefs because foundation of boldness is belief. It's like, yeah, I got time, good. Okay. It's like sometimes when I'm doing my events, I'll write 3 words on the board. I'll write the word. Somebody tell me what that word is. Say it loud. Believing. Okay, and then write that word. What's that word? Believing. Say it loud. Say it loud. What's believing. Okay, and then bet you won't get this one. What's that word? Believing. Okay, so it's believing, believing, believing. Now, here's the interesting thing about believing. Believing is a compound word, which means it has more than one word in it. You will be living what you're believing, even though you be lying. What does that mean? That means anything I tell myself about a future outcome, I made it up. If I say, I'm going to go home after I'm done filming videos here at the studio today. After the challenge, I'm going to go home. If I say that, I made it up. Because the reality is, I don't know if I'm going to get in an accident when I go home. But I don't say, I'm going to do my best to avoid an accident on my way home today. I just say, I'm going home, right? When I say, I'm going to go upstairs, I don't say, I'm going to do my best to go upstairs and not trip down the steps and break my neck. I don't say that. Now, I know some of you are thinking to yourselves, why is he saying this? I'm saying this because when it comes to things that don't matter, we declare them. When it comes to things that do matter, we qualify them. What does that mean? We say, well, I'm going to try to build a business, and hopefully it works. Isn't that what we say? Oh, I'm gonna try to close some sales. We don't say I'm going to try to go upstairs. I'm going to try to go home. We don't say that. Why do we say I'm going to try to go? Because I'm going to try to do this even if it doesn't work like it didn't last time. And we have all this conversation going on in our head, and we have no boldness because we have no belief. How many of y'all tracking? And so what we have to learn how to do, we have to learn how to tell ourselves better stories about the future so we can have better actions in the present that create better outcomes in the future. Because anxiety is wasting present energy on a future outcome that's undesirable to me. So I'm worried about, I'm expecting an unfavorable outcome in the future. It's causing me to have anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is not fear. It feels like fear. It smells like fear. It causes the same physical reactions in my body as fear. It causes my head to sweat, my hands to sweat, my heart to palpitate. Like people do that when they're thinking about something that they think might happen. And they call it what? What do they call it? What? Panic attack. They also do that when they get done running really, really fast for over a long period of time. One, physical energy was exerted. The other one, physical energy was imagined and mental energy was exerted. And they have the same reaction in our body. Why? Because I'm telling myself in very clear language, I'm playing the movie of a very unfavorable outcome in 3D, HD, 8K, Technicolor. I had to throw that one in there. Like, what's Technicolor? It's right back there beside the phone booth. Okay, so because I'm so much better, so are you, by the way. I'm not actually, but I used to be. Because most people are so much better at seeing clearly unfavorable outcomes than they are seeing clearly favorable outcomes, they have very, very little belief in the outcomes they desire, and they have very, very big belief in the outcomes they don't desire. If I could give you a gift, I would give you the gift of empowered expectation, where you no longer have the ability to believe in outcomes you don't desire. You only have the ability to believe in outcomes you do desire. What if you got to the place in your life where you believe the only thing that's impossible for you is that something will be impossible for you? What would you attempt then that you're not attempting now? Other people have done it, therefore it can be done, therefore you can do it. I wish I had some help in here. Oh, Lord. Okay, so Bold broadcast build beliefs. But wait, there's more. Clear communication creates connection. In the words of Rick Warren, nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes clear. Your cloudy little message with your insider lingo words and your techno babble don't move anybody, not even you. Stop using inside lingo on the outside world. Develop the ability to communicate clearly. How do you do that? Stop talking to people about the features of your offer and only talk to them about the benefits. What's the difference, Myron? What's the difference between a feature and a benefit? Because people ask that all the time. So I'm going to tell you the difference between a feature and a benefit. A feature tells you what it has. It has this, and it has this, and it has this. It also has this, and it has this, and it has this. A benefit tells you what you get. You get this, you get this, you get this, you get this. You get is orders of magnitude more impactful in getting somebody to make a yes decision than it has. Nobody cares what it has if it doesn't give them what they want. You get this, you get this, you get this, you get this, you get this. If you start using language like you get in your sales presentation, you'll make more sales than if you keep making sales. It has. We are, here are the kind of declarations business owners like to make. We are a business that focuses on integrity and keeping our promises and a good reputation in the marketplace. Well, no, duh. What do I expect you to say? We're a company that doesn't care about our reputation, and what we do is we just scam people out of money. Like, what? No, duh. Nobody cares about you unless who you are gives them something. Or, if my product is so great, we have the best product in the world. That is such a dumb thing to say. That is dumb as a box of rocks. Our product is the best product in the world. First of all, it's not true. Let's start there. My product's not the best product in the world. Your product's not the best product in the world. That's unquantifiable. It's unqualifiable. It's not measurable. Stop saying it. It doesn't matter. Your product doesn't have to be the best product in the world. There's not a single person out there saying, you know what, I just want to I'm going to go to the shoe store today. I'm going to find the best pair of shoes in the world. Nobody has that thought. So why are we talking like that? I'm just going to go buy the best car in the world. Like, nobody thinks, why are we doing that? And people know we're lying. But what if instead, man, this car is going to make your family proud and your enemies jealous. I want my family to be proud and my enemies to be jealous. Let's take it. Right? Oh, by the way, when you get in the car, the seats hug you. And it feels like they're asking you, where would you like to go today, baby? Right? That's a word picture that tells them what they get. The seats hug me? I don't know. I don't even like being in cars, but if the seats are going to hug me, I guess I'll get in. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Like, tell people what they get. Stop talking about people about who you are and what you can do and what your product has, and start talking to them about what they get. Clear communication. Clear communication creates connection, because when you communicate clearly, then people say, I really like this person. I don't know why, but I really like this person. I don't know why, but I really like this guy. I don't know why, but I think I really like this girl. I don't know, there's something different about him. I really like him. Well, one of the things is you're clear. Jim Rohn said they did a study. He said they studied a bunch of inmates in prison. And he said they studied a bunch of inmates in prison. He said, here's what they found out. They found something they weren't looking for. He said they found out that most of these people in prison, they had a very small vocabulary. They had a very small vocabulary? What does that have to do with anything? Well, then he said, I believe that's because words are not just a communication tool. They are the window through which you see the world. And if you have a very small vocabulary, you don't need a very big space to live in. That was so good. So when you expand your vocabulary, you expand your possibilities. It's so powerful. So, clear communication creates connection. Words are not just a communication tool. They are the window through which you see the world. When you broaden your vocabulary, it increases your ability to see better. D, declarations, direct decisions. Stop using wishy-washy language. Stop using, I'll try, maybe, probably, if. All you're doing is building uncertainty in the people you're talking to, and you're telling them not to follow you. Declarations determine direction. When people follow you, when your declaration of your destination is so clear, they believe following you, it'll be easier and faster for them to get there than it will be if they go by themselves. But we live in a world where people are afraid to make clear, concise declarations about where they're headed. But don't you be that person. Like, here's what I'm going to tell you. When I was in my 20s, I believed things that I didn't believe when I was in my 30s. But when I believed them when I was in my 20s, I believed them. Until I learned better. When I was in my 30s, I believed things that I didn't believe when I was in my 40s. And when I was in my 40s, I believed things that I didn't believe anymore when I was in my 50s. And when I was in my 50s, I believed things that I don't believe anymore now that I'm in my 60s. And I'm sure there are things that I believe now that I won't believe when I'm in my 70s. Why am I saying that? Because I know I'm not right about everything. But at least I believe the things I believe until I find out better. And some people, you can tell when you talk to them, they don't believe anything. They just tell you the expedient thing. They tell you the convenient thing. They just do the convenient thing. Declarations declare decisions. Some people, what they do is they're internalizers. The bulk of the communication they have with themselves. And then they become frustrated with other people for not reading their minds. Y'all know people like that. Come on now, can I get a witness? Right? It's like they're at war with words. No, I don't want to use any words on you. I'm going to just use all my words on me. I use 80% of my words on me. I'm going to use 20% of my words on the outside world. And the reason y'all are laughing is because y'all know folks like this. There are people like this in the world. But see, why don't people express themselves? Because they feel a sense of uncertainty. And so they don't want to say it. And some people just don't want the attention. And some people just don't want to do the work that will be the result of saying the thing that they mean. Can I get a witness? Like, well, if I say this, now they're going to have questions. Then I'm going to answer the questions. In order for me to answer the question, I'm going to have to think about it. I don't really want to think about it. I don't really want to talk about it. So I guess I won't say it to them. I'll just think it to me. So you say, Myron, what are your point? Don't just think it, say it. Declarations direct decisions. You want people to make decisions in their own favor that happen to benefit you? Then you better learn how to say it boldly and declare it instead of just having the thought in your head. So right now I'm doing my challenge. And so a lot of times people will ask me a question. And sometimes my family makes fun of me for saying this. It doesn't seem funny to me. It just seems normal to me. But I guess it sounds funny to me when they say it. It just doesn't sound funny to me when I say it, right? So sometimes people ask me a question. And I'll ask them the question. Do you want me to answer the question you asked, or do you want me to answer the question you should have asked? Right? Because I can tell by the question that they haven't thought about it clearly enough to even understand what the point of their question is. And so why am I even telling you this? Because some coaches are such politicians that even if they know that the person is asking a question that has an answer that won't solve their problem or won't do them any good, they'll just answer the question anyway. And so for me, I would rather give you the faithful wounds of a friend. Because faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. And so I would rather tell you the truth and hurt your feelings in the short term than lie to you and hurt your future in the long term. Unlike politicians. Okay. So, lastly, examples eclipse explanations. What does that mean? Don't just say it, show it. You want to become better at communicating? Put the show back in show and tell. Like when you're talking about something, you know what? I know this is going to sound like an oversimplification, even on a YouTube video. Let's say you say, well, this little kid came to his mother and said, can I have a cookie? I could say it that way. Or I could say, this little kid came to his mother and he said, Mommy, can I have a cookie? Now, you may say, well, it doesn't matter how you say it. Okay, maybe. But what if it does? But what if it does matter? What if it does matter that you show them what it looks like? So I do the story, I talk about the story of the widow in 2 Kings chapter 4. And it says, there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, thy servant, my husband, is dead. Thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and how the creditors come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. So when I tell that story, I say, this woman came to Elisha, and she said, you know my husband, he feared the Lord, and he died, and now they coming to get my kid. Now, everybody knows what crying looks like. But if I'm telling the story, and I show you, it's way more impactful than me just telling it to you. Because now it becomes more than a fact. It becomes a feeling. And the purpose of communication is not just to convey the facts, but a purpose of communication is to convey the feelings. Why? Because human beings are singularly motivated. There are people who would like for me to be less expressive when I talk. And that's fine, except I'm not going to. And I get it. Your hero was less expressive than me. I'm not trying to be your hero. I have no desire to be your hero. I'm just going to be me. And I know that maybe the reason my communication style doesn't work for you is because I'm not your guy. And I'm okay with that. Now, you got to get to peace with that, because I'm at peace with it. Like, you got to come to the place where you are at peace with the fact that Myron Golden ain't your guy. He talks too loud. He talks too fast. He's way too theatrical. He thinks he's funny, and he's not. Whatever. That's pretty funny. Okay, but whatever. I'm not your guy, and I'm okay with that. Now, you got to be okay with that, and us to 𝐉𝐶 baby. It's okay. I love you on your way out the door as much as I loved you on your way in, and it's all right. See, that's so freeing. Why? Because I am not going to stop putting the show in my show and tell, and I'm not going to stop being theatrical when I'm illustrating something, and I'm not going to stop raising my voice, and I'm not going to stop talking fast when I get excited. Oh, well. You say, but Myron, it'll make it easier to listen to you. No, that's not what, no, it's not going to make it easy to listen to you. It's not going to make it easier to listen to me. It's going to make it easier for you to listen to me. And you think that's the objective. You think I showed up just for you. But I showed up for the people who are putting hearts in right now. I showed up for the people who are leaving comments like, this changed my life. I showed up for the people who are going to do what I say and get the benefit of that so they can come and tell me how they watched my YouTube video and made tens of thousands of dollars or whatever they did. I'm here for them. And it's okay if you watch, but I'm certainly okay if you don't. In Christian love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. I would rather hurt you to help you. What does that mean? I'd rather tell you something that's painful short term that's going to help you long term than I would help you to harm you. What does that mean? Tell you something that makes you feel good in the short term, but in the long term, it messes up your life. If you'll apply these 5 secrets, you can start creating wealth in your 20s. Hey, so you say, Myron, how do I do that? Well, you can use your communication to communicate clearly a solution that you've created to a problem that a lot of people have that they'd be willing to pay you for. You might put it in a book. You might put it in an audio. You might put it in a video. You might make it for sale. You might sell it for $7. You might sell it for $70. You might sell it for $700 or $7,000. But see, I didn't know in my 20s that I could use my words to get paid. Had I known that, I would have gotten in sales earlier. Now, a lot of people don't like the word sales, right? Sales, oh my goodness, that's a 5-letter word. And sell, that's a 4-letter word. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, but a couple of reasons people don't like sales is, one, they don't really know what sales is. They think sales is talking people into buying something they don't want, don't need, and can't afford. They don't realize that sales is uncovering the value of what they have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value they've revealed. And so if I would have learned to use my communication ability in my 20s to sell, I already knew how to communicate. I just didn't know how to sell. I did learn how to sell in my 20s. I didn't get good at it, though, until I was in my 30s. So it took me a while. I'm not the quickest study in them, but at least I hang in there until I figure it out. So my challenge to you is to get better at using your mind so you can come up with better ideas that solve other people's problems. Get better at using your mouth to declare to the world at large that you've found the solution to their problem. And if you do, it'll take your life to another level, whether you be in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. I hope this video blesses you. In the meantime, in between time, stay blessed by the best, and we'll see you tomorrow on our Bible study channel. Bye for now.